Giants 45, Colts 33. Welcome to Talking Giants, presented by SeatGeek. I'm your host, Bobby Skinner, here with my co-host, Justin Pennick. And I can't believe we just said Giants 45. I don't think we've ever said that on this show. I know we had a 42 the last time when we were in such a similar position, Justin. The Giants avoid 0-9 at home and an 11 straight loss to move to 3-13 on the season, with still having the worst record in the NFL. And the tank has been tanked. Justin, how we doing? How we feeling? How was the final home game of the year?
It was interesting, man. I can't. Can we just start off with this? Isn't it unbelievable that they won today?
It's not. It's to me. It's not unbelievable they won. It's unbelievable they put up 45 points. But
yeah,
I hate Gus Bradley, the Colts defense coordinator, and I have for some time, and we'll talk about it all. But obviously, what most people's eyes go to is the draft position here, or at least maybe online. You see in the stadium, everyone's cheering and celebrating, because they're there in the moment, and maybe you're getting a small snapshot when you look at social media. But still, like Justin, I didn't want the Giants to win this game. We can talk about the whole tanking part of this, but I didn't want the Giants to win this game. This makes me feel worse, not just about just the draft spot, but what are they going to do as a franchise? Now we have, instead of just having a desperate GM with the number 1 pick, now we have the desperate GM who may need to trade up to get a quarterback. We'll see if this game does anything for Brian Daboll's status as the head coach, because I'm sure they were kind of counting on losing 12 straight to end the season and 0-9 at home. Does that change anything? Does that ease the pressure defensively, right? As much as this offensive game was great, this defense is missing Dexter Lawrence, who was not a Joe Shane addition, and then Bobby Okereke and Mike McFadden. And they got torched by Joe Flacco and the Indianapolis Colts. So there's a lot of different ways to go at it, but I think the main thing is the tank is where you go. So right now the Giants would have the 4th pick in the draft. They are tied with 3 other teams with having the worst record in the NFL. And right now the Patriots would be number 1. Next week they hope. And here's the thing: is all 4 of these teams' opponents may rest their starters.
Right.
The Ravens are a to be decided, and the Eagles could be a to be decided if the Lions lose tomorrow. I don't know how all the tiebreaker shit works, but the reality is the Patriots, who host the Bills, who could rest. The Titans are number 2, who host the Texans, who could rest. The Browns at the Ravens, who could rest, but I don't think the Browns could even beat the Ravens' backups. And then the Giants at the Eagles, who could rest, which I think would be in danger of winning. And then here's the other scary part. Picks 5 through 9 have 4 wins, and the Giants have a strong strength of schedule, right? So if they win next week, they could slide even more, which is where it is. But this is where it is. So let's talk about the whole tanking moral part of it and what people are rooting for, and kind of just get it out of the way so we can actually talk about the Giants as a whole in this game individually. And I'll kick it to you. Talk me through your thoughts and feelings in the stadium, because after the Nabers touchdown, which got him 1K, the plays after that didn't make me feel happy at all for any individual player. Because it's I already know Malik Nabers is really sick. And then, I know what Slayton is. I know what Wan'Dale Robinson is. Drew Lock is not part of the future here. So it's different than it's different than the Chase Young Bowl. Right, because let me, instead of me kicking it to you, I'm just going to give off my thoughts on this. So obviously fans don't control anything on how they win or lose, no matter how much people think they do. And I'm also usually resigned to the fact that they'll win some games, Justin. But we got down to the final 2, and it was a deflating feeling. It's not like 2019 Andrew Thomas Bowl. Where I'm enjoying my rookie quarterback throw 5 touchdowns because that's sick. Okay, don't talk to me about going from second to 4th. I'm going to enjoy that feeling. And if the Giants weren't looking to take a QB and found themselves in this spot, I will never let it affect me. But the last 2 years, it does affect me. Maybe more so last year because it was just right in front of them, and they didn't need to. We weren't talking about firing the GM and the head coach after year 2.
Right.
But in reality, the players and coaches aren't going to tank, and it's hard to lose 11 games in a row. But also the people who say this helps build culture and it's about pride
that's not.
They're totally out of touch with reality.
Yeah. Yeah, let me start off with this. Where I was mentally today. I was in a lot of different places today mentally, and if you follow me on Twitter, you know that I was. Where the first half I was like, all right, this is cool. Like they're scoring points. It was I have stats that I tweeted out about, this is the, about however many points they scored in the first half, and that's, they've done that X amount of times. So I can easily pull that up. But at first I was like, oh, this is cool. Tyron Tracy, Malik Nabers, the Malik Nabers yak, the two yak plays that he made were really cool. Like, oh, that's the screen. I think that was like in the first half. That's something that we really
Yeah.
haven't seen this year. We've been waiting for the big Malik Nabers yak play. It just really hasn't come yet this year. And we had two big moments of that today, which was cool. And then once the second half came along, and it's like, you get the excitement of being there. You get like, oh, well, you never see the Giants do well, and I never see them do well at home. So that excitement of like, oh, they're doing well and this is fun, it very much wore off very quickly in the second half. And it's like, oh shit, well, we're not leading by 2 scores. We're simply leading by 8. I think the Colts can kind of come back and win this. So then the rooting interest turns into, okay, the Giants can lose quietly now. And I would feel somewhat good about this game. And I'll be excited that we keep the number 1 pick while also scoring a lot of points. And then lo and behold, it very quickly did not turn into that Bobby Skinner. So yeah, the first half was cool. And I was like, oh, fun, scoring points. Malik Nabers, Tyron Tracy had a big play in there. And then the second half, I'm with you. I was like, all right, let's get the hell out of here and lose. And they did not do that.
The opening kickoff touchdown
Oh, that was
was like,
brutal.
I was like, oh my gosh, this might happen. And I want to talk
Brutal.
about like and why this whole like tanking thing is there, right? And again, like you said, this is like, the last time the Giants had a quarterback with 5 touchdowns, they lost to Chase Young Bowl in 2019 and ended up with Andrew Thomas. So you're praying that this is something like that, or the Texans winning on the final play and landing CJ Stroud instead of Bryce Young, So there is things like that. But here is why last year it bothered me, because I really wanted one of those top 3, right? And we were right there. This year I haven't really watched those guys. I did watch Cam Ward on Saturday, and I'll be honest, I've I I'm starting to fall a little bit in love with that. Shador's, watched him in the bowl game. Didn't love that so much, obviously. But Joe Shane's already desperate, dude. Like
Yeah.
that's where I'm working, and I'm pretty confident that Joe Shane is staying. So Joe Shane's desperate, and now he's going to be in a position where if he wants one of those quarterbacks, he's going to have to trade up, right? So it's not even just like, will this quarterback work out? It's just, like at the end of the day, like, does missing on that quarterback stink? Yes. Does it missing on that quarterback if it's the New York Giants stink even more because they won't know when to move on? Yes. But would be even worse is you do that and you invest another, first round pick or second round pick or whatever it ends up being. Now if those guys end up working out, you're happy with the trade up. But I don't want a desperate GM in this situation. Like, I think
He
now
was already
more
he was already desperate when they had the number 1 overall pick.
exactly. So like now more than on Saturday, I think a fresh start with a GM who doesn't reek of desperation is needed. Like, you need a clear-headed GM who is trading up for one of these guys because he views them the same way Joe Shane viewed Drake May last year, and not because you desperately need a quarterback to save your job. Now, again, if I think Cam Ward is what he looked like when I watched him on Saturday, then yeah, you trade up for him. But would just much rather not be in that position where you're having to do that.
Yeah.
There's no
Yeah.
guarantee you can trade up for either, because there might be another team that's, the rate like then you're in a bidding war against the Raiders, with the Patriots, and what team's
No,
going to be more desperate.
and even before we get to talking about what are they going to do at quarterback, or are they going to trade up, or are they going to not? Like I'm being asked a million times at the stadium today, and I love people that come up and talk to me, but I'm being asked a million times, what do you want to do a quarterback? What do you want to do a quarterback? What do you want to do a quarterback? And I'm like, hold the phone. I'm like, they need to make some major decisions on Black Monday and through this coaching cycle, whether they keep Daboll's gone. I'm pretty, I'm like, we're all like 95% confident that Brian Daboll's gone. I really don't think anything. He did have a message to ownership today during the post-game presser,
I'm
which we
not
will talk
fully
about.
confident Daboll's gone, but the fact that every insider talks about the situation, they make it clear that it's not a package duo, a package makes me think that Daboll's gone.
We're going to learn a lot about the future of Brian Daboll this week, at least in my opinion, because if there are certain pieces that come out about Daboll, how, maybe he couldn't manage a team, and maybe we even refer back to the Wink Martindale situation last year. And, last year he was confrontational with the staff. Maybe he took his foot off the gas and wasn't as confrontational this year. I don't know. Like, I don't know what these pieces are, but I wonder if we're going to get any semi anti Brian Dable pieces that written this week by certain beat reporters and journalists or whatever. So that's what I'm on the lookout for this week. But again, before we even get to the end of April, and we're talking about quarterback and we're talking about draft, and I know we're talking about the tank right now, but almost regardless of what pick the Giants have in this draft, I am not confident in the future of the Giants if Joe Schoen is the GM of this team. I'm not.
Especially if they have to bring in a new head coach.
Yeah,
Way more so if they have to bring in a new head. So you have a desperate GM who has to bring in a head coach with a lame ducks in a
and
lame
what
duck
coach is going
situation.
to want to come here, man? Like, I was on the phone with Snacks. Leslie Frazier, a guy that they interviewed the last cycle and is the assistant head coach of the Seahawks. Like, those are the types of names. Like, I think Liam Cohen is shooting high. You're not getting Ben Johnson.
Yeah, it's
So
a
you're not going to
guarantee
get the
you're not
sexy
getting Ben
name.
Johnson.
You're not getting the sexy name. Mike Vrabel. Look at the staff that he had. The staff that Mike Vrabel had his final year of Tennessee, they're on the Giants coaching staff right now. Is he inspiring you
Yeah,
with an
his
awesome
offensive
staff?
coordinator is our tight end coach right now.
Yes. So I don't know, man. Like, you're not getting the sexy, exciting hire with Joe Schoen still here, and then pair that with the fact that Joe Schoen himself is desperate to get a quarterback.
Yeah. And you, again, today, if there's anything we learned from today, Justin, in this game, it's that like Brian Dable can coach up some offense. Now, again, I'm not no victory lapping from this game, and there's other
No,
points about this that I think are very funny. But people like this whole like, oh, Tracy and Nabers first 1K duo for scrimmage yards, which I want to talk about. I'm gonna burst the bubble on that one a little bit, unfortunately. Um, it's like like they'll talk about their rookie. Oh, Andrew Phillips had an interception. The rookies, but in reality, it's they will coach up a defense offensive game. The quarterback delivered in this moment against a very bad defense with a very bad defensive game plan. But again, he's going to be the one that ends up being scapegoated. Like that's where we're going to end up being in this. And I just don't want Joe Schoen here in this. I tweeted out a week ago. I'm like, what's the pitch for keeping Joe Schoen if they have the third pick? Because you see the pitches that are being made by whoever about Joe Schoen. It's like, well, tank these last two games, eat it. Don't care. Don't win these games and get your pick of a quarterback. Well, now what? Now what? Now it's like, all right. Well, this desperate GM, we're going to give him the opportunity. Let's forget the fact that Deonte Banks had his worst game of his career. Let's forget the fact about his quarterback evaluations overall. Like it's just an awful position to be in. And again, I'm not even saying I'm against trading up, right? Like I saw this, Justin. I was shocked by this. And again, we try our best to not make our show talking to Twitter and more just talking about the Giants. But people saying, "Oh, well, I wouldn't want to trade up for one of these." Well, I was like, "What? What? You guys have been talking about how these are great prospects, and you don't want to trade up a spot or two for them?"
you can't be
Like
half pregnant, man. If
what
you want it,
happened? I was shocked by those takes. And again, like I said, we try to not make our show arguing with Twitter, but I was shocked to see that. Another little part that bothers me too, since I'm on the arguing with Twitter, is people will bring up like this is why you take Penix and McCarthy last year, and they leave out Nix of their tweets, who is the one who is actually having a successful rookie season. Like, so it's like, is it because your evaluation on Bo Nix? Does your evaluation matters, no one else's? But I digress. I just thought I was like shocked at some of the takes. I was like, wait, you guys have been talking about, you guys have been making edits of these guys, and now you don't want to trade up two spots for them? Like either you can think the guy's a franchise quarterback or you don't.
Yeah, right.
Like you're willing to take a guy first overall, but not trade up for him. That's crazy talk to me. If you're willing to take a guy first overall, you should be willing to trade up for them.
Yeah, I agree. Which
Yeah.
I think, by the way, I Joe Schoen is going to have full carte blanche, just like he did last year, by the way. He's going to have full carte blanche to trade up, and he's going to desperately try to do it. 100%.
Oh yeah. If Joe Shane's the GM, they're trading up. And again, that's with no knowledge of like, what these quarterbacks are going to be. Like he's trading up
Yeah.
Actually, I won't say that because here's the difference, Justin, is the Raiders could just be just as desperate as them, if not more so. And we've seen the Raiders make dumb move after dumb move. I could see them if there's any team I could see buying into the whole, just getting Shador of everything that he is, it's the Raiders. And then if the second team is taking a quarterback, then you're not in that spot. And then you're taking like Jalen Milroe in the second round or some shit.
Or how about we laugh? Maybe we'll laugh one day at the fact that. So how does it go right now? Patriots, Titans, Giants.
Patriots, Titans, Browns, Giants.
Browns are in this. Well, they're keeping Deshaun because they just restructured his contract.
Yeah, but so it's based. But again, I could also see them drafting a quarterback and and letting him sit or whatever. Like the Browns, you have no idea what they can do.
I don't know.
The Browns are the most screwed up because there's nothing they can do that's like this makes anything better. The Titans are going to want a quarterback. Now the Titans may not be desperate, and if they don't evaluate as one of these guys, they could pass. But again, like you're going to have to trade up regardless because there'll be another team that's willing to trade up most likely. Unless when we watch these quarterbacks and media stops paying attention to the NFL season and starts getting ready for the draft, and it's like, oh no, these guys aren't even top 10 picks. Then you're in a different situation. But yeah, I've already found myself in these cope situations, Justin, where I'm like, teams get all fans get all up in arms about this, and then they look back and laugh. Look at the Texans. I still remember Davis Mills, having to throw on the last play of the game, and them. Losing the first overall pick and giving it to the Chicago Bears, and they traded to the Panthers, and they got CJ Stroud, right? The Andrew Thomas. So, but that's also his cope. Also, part of me is like if they took a position player, like I'd love Abdul Carter. Joe Shane's not taking an edge rusher when he has
Thibodeau and Brian Burns. No way.
Yeah, there's no chance. Even if he thinks he's a Micah Parsons level player, he's not taking that guy over a cornerback.
Which is a Joe Shane issue.
Exactly.
One of the reasons why Joe Schoen is not a good drafter is that he just drafts for need and not, the NFL draft is about, and you talk about this all the time. The NFL draft is about drafting good football players, and nobody's going to look back at a draft class 3 years from now and look at, oh, well, they really got this position of need. They're going to look at, is this a good football player or a bad football player?
Yeah, really the only times you don't draft for need is like quarterback.
Yeah.
If you have a quarterback or you have like an offensive lineman, because those guys don't come off the field. So like the Giants shouldn't draft a left down. They could draft left tackle, moving the right tackle. Anyways, grab your favorite team's jersey and some snacks. How about that? What a freaking transition. And head to the couch for another Sunday of action-packed football and get even closer to the action each Sunday with our partners at the DraftKings Sportsbook. Right now, all new customers who bet just $5 will get $100 in bonus bets if your bet wins when you use code WORLD. Stay in on the action and use your $150 in bonus bets on DraftKings same game parlays for a shot and even bigger payout. I want the overlay right over Justin. And if sports betting is not yet available in your state, don't worry. You can join in on all the fun with DraftKings Daily Fantasy and have the shot to win cash prizes. So download the DraftKings Sports app now. New customers use promo code WORLD. Bet just $5 on any wager and get $100 in bonus bets if your bet wins. That's promo code WORLD, only at DraftKings Sportsbook. You'll be glad you did.
Don't put the overlay over this shirt. This is a great shirt.
No, your face. The shirt, fine. Your face, overlay it. What do you think of Brian Daboll's quote of, let me pull it up right now.
Yeah, pull it up.
Where he's
not wrong.
He said, if you get quarterback play, you have an opportunity in every game. That was definitely it's not wrong. It's a message towards ownership, Justin, which is like, again, and I do feel for Brian Daboll somewhat in all of this, right? We've talked about that at lengths, and I think we're going to talk on Wednesday about the case for and against Brian Daboll, most likely. But I did find it funny because look, let's talk about Drew Lock's performance, Justin, in all this. Doug Analytics tweeted this out. He had the 6th best EPA per play
It's incredible.
Since 1999. Peyton Manning 07, Phillip Rivers 07, Lamar Jackson 2019, Peyton Manning 02, and Brady 07 are the only five in a single game better performances. So 07, man, we had some fucking quarterback play that year. What ended up happening that year? First ballot or riots, like I said. But in reality, I don't think Locke didn't make the bad decisions, which Drew Lock does, but he didn't do. I don't think he did anything spectacular. I mean, he got 3 total yak touchdowns. He extended plays for 2 other ones, but he also had, total underthrow that ended up being a Malik Nabers big catch. I mean, 174 total yards yak. Gus Bradley to me is generally a moron. And I think Shane Steichen and the Colts are even bigger morons for keeping him. I mean, just playing the run super heavy, making it easier for this wide receiver trio to make plays instead of trying to create turnovers. Played the run heavy, got him soft. I just hate him, and I hate Shane Steichen for keeping him. But I just did because I think we forget that Brian Daboll is not just a quarterback coach and all this too. It's like I understand that's his message to ownership and that this situation would be certainly a lot better with a quarterback. And I think Brian Daboll is a good coach to work with a young quarterback, right? I have not changed my stance on that at all. But the funny part is you needed to have the 6th best QB game in e-paper play and a kick return for a touchdown so you could squeeze out a victory against the Colts. Like, that doesn't answer for the fact that his defense gave up 33 points to Joe Flacco.
No, and without getting too much into the case against Brian Daboll, it's, dude, if you keep Daboll, what are you doing at the coordinator spot? That's what it kind of comes down to for me. You're gonna, Mike Kafka's leaving, so there's gonna be no outside offensive coordinator candidate that's even if they get an outside offensive coordinator candidate, Bobby, I don't think it's going to be anybody like that makes us go, wow, this is interesting,
No, he's
because
not going to call plays and he's going to be in a bad situation.
they're not going to call plays, and Brian Daboll and Joe Schoen are coming off of 2 back-to-back seasons of being way below 500. And then defensive coordinator, I mean, people inside the building have done a really good job of making Shane Bowen to look like an idiot. Which, I don't think Shane Bowen has definitely not blown me away as a defensive coordinator this year, but I would be lying to you if I said, oh yeah, I think he has great talent, especially in the secondary to work with. And I think there's personnel questions when it comes to stopping the run as well, including the edge rushers. But they want to fire Bowen because that's what it seems like they kind of want to do with Brian Daboll.
But
And you're going to be looking for an offensive coordinator because Kafka's leaving. And you're going to be going into year 4, coming off of back-to-back below 500 seasons, looking for both coordinators. It's a very like I said, I'm 95% sure that Daboll's gone, but it's also a very underutilized talking point when it comes to the pro Brian Daboll camp of that's the plan. That's the coordinator plan that you're going to have going into year 4 with Brian Daboll. So it's not good.
Everything is in desperation. Can I say something?
Yeah.
Because I hate that we won a game and it's like I'm so tired of the Giants putting us in this situation where it's like we're winning a game and we got to talk about the negative implications on the team and look back at last year and man, if they didn't beat the Patriots, they'd have Drake May and all blah blah blah, all that bullshit.
I'm gonna get selfish for a second, and forgive me for getting selfish. I try not to, we try not to
shellfish.
We try not to make things about us, but I can't fucking enjoy sitting at a Giants game for a half and enjoying that they're doing well. You can't. I got killed. I got killed online today.
Yeah, that's the thing. Is I don't. When you were I joked. I was like, all right, let's relax. This is not good.
Now my mind changed. You can't tell me.
The other part though is
mind changed.
People act like that's blasphemous. I think people forget this is when you're there in the stadium, it's just I've always not always said this, but I've joked anything you say in the stadium should never be held against you. I get I've been at games I remember the Commanders tie a couple years ago, and I'm I get or the Bucks loss on Monday Night Football, and I'm just I get it. I get why some of your tweets, people's tweets are just unhinged because it drives you nuts when you're in there and shit you don't like's happening. But so people, anyways, it is what it is. Let's talk a little bit about the game. Drew Lock, whoever he signs with next year, I'm happy.
This is going to be the first game that you break down in the film review, Bobby. This is going to be it.
No, not me, not me. I'm happy for the content creators of whatever team, and
Yeah,
this is the film review game that they get to do. Like this will be it. You know, this will be their Eagles game for us. Malik Nabers.
yeah.
Malik Nabers and Tyrone Tracy became the third rookie duo to ever hit 1,000 scrimmage yards. Reggie Bush and Marcus Colston did it for the Saints. Abner Haynes and Johnny Robinson did it in 60. Those random clowns. I'm a big Johnny Robinson hater. Abner Haynes, I like him. Not a big Johnny Robinson fan. But I want to talk about the Tracy part of this. Malik Nabers' part of this is very impressive. I mean, he had his best game, Justin. 7 catches, 171 yards, 2 touchdowns today. He's now at in 14 games, by the way, too. I think sometimes we under recognize good seasons because of the added games, Justin. But he's played 14 games. He has 104 catches, 1,140 yards, and 6 touchdowns. That's a fucking stellar rookie season. And if it wasn't for other like rookies having great rookie seasons, like if there's no QB in this class and you didn't have Brock Bowers having the greatest rookie tight end season ever, besides Mike Ditka, and then Brian Thomas catching big play after big play, like this would feel like this would be a little more recognized. I mean, this is not just like the first 1,000-yard receiver since Odell, Justin. I mean, this is the best receiving season the Giants have had since Odell in 2016. Like this is more than he had his final 2 years. Obviously, 2017 he missed a lot more games than 2018. But like 81 yards per game is really fucking good for a rookie, especially on the state of this offense. I don't care if they're force feeding him. Like you got to be the force feeding, I think, is kind of hurt his numbers because he hasn't done a lot with the force fed plays. You know, those plays have been 5 yards, 4 yards, 3 yards.
Yeah, I think it's brought down his yards per reception.
Yeah, like
sure.
he'd probably have 1,010 yards if they didn't force feed him as much. But like, you know, like those haven't been effective. That is a fucking impressive player that we have. JJ McCarthy, Michael Penix, and Bo Nix have not done anything yet to make me want to go back and redo that. And I'm happy that he's on this team, and I hope the Giants can get a franchise quarterback whenever it is, and I hope that he's a part of that, and I hope we can start winning before Malik Nabers is the most frustrated player in the NFL.
Before he's too disgruntled. Yeah. 5 plays of 19+ yards today, and that was Malik Nabers alone.
Every single play, by the way, was like impressive. You know, you had the first one that was like a little screen out there. The 60-yard touchdown, Justin. I mean, just playing his foot up and go, yak. A crazy back shoulder that got them down to the 1-yard line. The underthrow to by Drew Lock up the right sideline where he has to totally come back and adjust to the football and make the play on what would have been a touchdown. I mean, he's a back shoulder being 2 yards further and a good Drew Lock throw away from having 4 touchdowns in this game. Like it was a phenomenal game. It's the most receiving yards a Giants players had since the Tony game in 2021. Like this was by far his best game of the year. It was fucking phenomenal. And it's like this guy has, again, 104 catches, over 1,100 yards, 6 touchdowns on a season where you feel like you could have gotten more out of him. And he missed 2 games too.
Yeah, and that's my main point of, you know, of course not every game is going to be 7 catches for 170 yards and you're not going to have 5 explosive plays every single game, but dude, I feel like there are times where even after you made the quarterback change, like I feel like Malik Nabers was the key, and after you move on from Daniel Jones, Malik Nabers was supposed to be the key to help whatever quarterback, whether it was DeVito or especially Drew Lock, was supposed to help keep this offense afloat and not be as bad as they have been. And I just don't understand, why was it now, the final home game of the season, where we finally got to see 2 wow Malik Nabers yak plays? I mean, there should
the Colts play a little bit of part in that.
You know, and I'm at the stadium so often too, where a lot of these snaps, teams are playing single high, and we're choosing to run the ball in these heavy boxes and these stacked boxes because we're scared of the O-line, we're scared of the quarterback making a mistake, we're not confident in anybody to throw the ball down the field. Where, you know, again, I understand the Colts are soft, I understand they have a bad defense, I understand they have Gus Bradley as defensive coordinator, but I feel like there have been opportunities because teams are giving them to us to use Malik Nabers more, to try and push the envelope, to do the shit that Tim Boyle did for a quarter, for like a quarter that one game. So, and this is the game that we kind of feel like Drew Lock finally kind of did it and it unlocked. And I don't think it
Yeah,
should have taken this long. So
I don't think Locke did anything special, but like Locke has these games in him, right? Where when we talked about like the whole DeVito versus Locke thing, I was like, DeVito's not going to have that Falcons game that Drew Lock had, but I don't think DeVito's going to have this game either. Even though I think the
no,
Commanders game last year could be somewhat similar because of just like the way those defenses stunk and played. Now I want to say about this whole like, please, if they try and do this, flaunt this rookie duo thing for the first one.
oh, they're
This
going
is
to. That's
this
gonna
is
that's
classic, like 2013 Sports Center ESPN stat. Okay, it's the most classic ever because the Tyrone Tracy part of this, and Tyrone Tracy's a hit. They should be happy with Tyrone Tracy. If there's one thing that they should be flaunting, it is Tyrone Tracy. He's a hit of a 5th round pick. 1,000 scrimmage yards for a running back is so unimpressive. It's not even fucking funny. And coming into this week, and he didn't have a lot of yards in this game. He's 24th in running back scrimmage yards. He's 29th in scrimmage yards per game for running backs. Like that's not impressive. Now, again, Tracy's a 5th round hit, undoubtedly. He's struggling right now due to the loss of Daniel Jones and teams scheming up the run more like they did Saquon last year at the end, right? When Saquon was averaging like 3 yards per catch, per carry down the stretch, right? And that's why Tracy's numbers have struggled. He had a 40-yard run today and then 19 yards on 19 other
on
carries.
every
So
other carry.
like there, listen, is he the greatest back in the NFL? No. Does he have a fumble problem? Yes, but he is a hit, right? We talk about it on the show all the time, Justin. It's like we're very quick to crown rookies, and I'm sure he might be overhyped a little bit, but he's a flat out hit from the 5th round. But I hope to God that they don't fucking flaunt this thing.
They're going to.
Out there because the 1,000-yard scrimmage yards for a running back is not impressive at all. For someone that's been starting, 11 to 12 games in a season and you don't get it, like we got to have a talk to you about that.
Over under 3 minutes, 3.5 minutes until Joe Schoen brings that up in his postseason presser.
Over, because there's going to be
coaching changes and things like that.
Yeah, that's part of it too.
Yeah.
Over.
But it's going to be brought up, and I think it's going to be brought up quickly as a defense of even why that, like, oh, you just fired an offensive coach when you have some good offensive players. Talk to me about that. Well, we have these young players, Malik Nabers, Tyrone Tracy. They both had over 1,000 scrimmage yards this year. Any coach should be excited to work with that.
Yeah.
That's the answer.
Yeah, I agree.
Great. Awesome.
I want to talk about some defensive stuff, Justin. Why don't you talk to us about something first?
Yeah, I will talk to you about Captain Morgan. Today's episode is sponsored by Captain Morgan, the official spice rum of the NFL. The NFL seasons where legends are born on and off the field. Some are of last-second plays that turn the tide and change a team's destiny, while others are friends who follow the captain from within them to make a regular get-together into the stuff of legends. So grab your crew. Grab a captain and a cola. Make it a story to remember, because legends start when you follow the captain. Visit followthecaptain.com for more. Please drink responsibly. Captain Morgan Original Spice Rum, 35% alcohol by volume. Captain Morgan Rum Company in New York, New York. You will be glad you did. Quick story. Speaking of Captain Morgan, on the because Captain Morgan's.
Did I distract you? I had my eye on Captain Morgan logo.
No, you did not distract me. I was reading the ad. But a quick little update. Fun little tidbit from today. Captain Morgan, the official spice rum of the Talk of Giants L16 tailgate for the last couple of years now, even though Captain Morgan has been only working with us for a year, because that's how much we love Captain Morgan. I was able to pull up to our spot, our curb, the curb that I usually have to arrive at the stadium at 6:30 in the morning for. I was able to arrive at 10:30 today and get the same spot. You'll be glad you did, Captain Morgan.
How was like the stadium atmosphere? Amount of people there. Planes didn't happen, obviously, because of the weather.
Beautiful day.
By the way, I'm going to save a little bit about this for the preview pod, but you guys are ignorant when it comes to plane aviation.
Okay.
But I want to say
that it was a sunny day.
I want to say it for the preview pod. How was the whole atmosphere and stuff?
It was, believe it or not, the Saints game was worse. Like the Saints game, vibe wise, was worse. The stadium was loud today. Like it got loud. It got loud at one point. There were a lot more people there than I thought. Than I thought originally there would be. And I'll tell you what, I think the weather played a part in it. It was 60 degrees and it was sunny.
Yeah, the announcer, Kenny Albert was like just kept on bringing it up. He was just shocked by that. Um, Vilma's a tough listen, dude. And I was
Yeah.
like, I love Jonathan Vilma. I was part of Free Vilma, the Free Vilma movement back in the day. Um, but he's a tough listener, right? Like whoa, one of the that's what reminded me. Kenny Albert's like, I don't know what's more surprising, that it's 60 degrees in late December, or the Giants have scored, 3 touchdowns in the first half. And Vilma's like, whoa, I'm not gonna let you get a little diss in there on the Giants. It's like, Dave,
You never
like,
played for the
relax.
Giants.
Yeah, we know that we stink,
You're
Vilma.
okay.
Now,
I mentioned
never.
this.
I
Wait,
want to
hold
say
on.
this as fans is tank stuff. Never get
Yes.
mad at players for hating the tank stuff, because it's just a different reality.
No, I'm happy for the players, even though I know people are gonna hate
I'm
me.
not even that happy, but it's like they say all the buzzwords like culture, like Illuminor said culture, and there's it's like just
No, that doesn't matter. No.
that doesn't matter, but just chill, okay? Like they're not gonna they have to say something when they're asked about it.
Yeah. So here's some stats. You want some stats? First time this year the Giants have scored 2 touchdowns in the first half at home. First time they've done it in the game since the Browns game in September. And then this was later in that half. The second time this year, the Giants have scored 21 points in one half, the first time that they've done it at home. And Bobby Skinner, believe it or not, did you see this? Before today, how many regular season games have the Giants scored over 30 points in the last 5 years? We've been doing the show together for the last 5 years. How many times have the Giants scored over 30 points in a regular season game?
Over 30 points, I'll say, including this game.
Yes, we'll just include this game.
Wait, are you counting 2019?
No, because we weren't doing this together. So that's the last
Oh,
five
so you're not
five
counting
years.
2019. So they didn't
5
do it in
years.
2020. They didn't do it in 2021. I think they did it twice in if we're not including playoffs. This
We're
would
not
be
including playoffs in this. This
this
is
so
just
this is
regular
the
season.
third time.
They did do it once in 2020 because Kyler Fackrell
Oh,
had
the
a pick
Cowboys
six.
game. It was the offense. Okay, so this is the fourth time.
Yeah, so this is this is the 5th time. Before heading into today, they did it 4 times, and now this is the 5th time.
So you had the Cowboys game in 2020 where Kyler Fackrell had the pick six. You had the Vikings game and the Colts game. Oh, what was the other game in 2022? Oh, they must have done it once last year.
The Cardinals.
The Cardinals game. Okay, right. So I was right. They only did it twice in 2022. Okay, I forgot that last year they did it against the Cardinals.
Yeah.
One of the worst things about tanking discourse, Justin, is that we don't appropriately talk about bad play because it's like, oh, that's cool. Deonte Banks casually had his worst game of his career against like a lesser wide receiver one, and he wasn't matched up with Pittman the whole time. And Alec Pierce dunking on his head all game. He gave 6 catches for 100 yards and had 63 yards worth of penalties. Like he has zero ball skills. Even the incompletions that he had against him, Justin, were like, dude, find the football. Find the football. Like the one where they had double coverage with Pinnock. It's like, find the football. They just he gets killed play after play after play. Like he's never going to be good covering a wide receiver one. It's never going to happen. Like the hope is he can be a cornerback too. But again, his cornerback 2 play was overrated last year. And we've talked about that. Like that was, yeah, like you talk about like if they want to talk about like building culture and shit and rolling over into fucking 2025. Well, the one like guy who hasn't been good that is talented enough to have some hope in is Deonte Banks, and he ain't rolling shit over because he had again the worst performance of his career against the Colts.
Joe Shane's good though.
Yeah, dude, it's like, and people talking about Brian Burns being a fucking impact while they gave up 33 points to the Colts. And Joe Flacco, like, yeah, he had 1 quarterback hit and 5 pressures. Like I'm not victory lapping that performance by Brian Burns.
Kayvon had the strip sack.
Yeah, Kayvon had a strip sack, 4 pressures, which is a good game for Kayvon. But like I'm not victory lapping their efforts versus Bernard Raymond and Matt, Goncalves, a rookie 3rd rounder out of Pitt who's not good at all. Like I'm not victory lapping that at all.
I felt
Sorry, against
by the way,
the most immobile starting quarterback in the NFL.
oh my God, yeah. Brian Burns, where he came screaming around in the left tackle. Did you feel that breeze from Florida when he whiffed?
Dude, that was
Joe
a
Flacco?
crazy. Like he like jumped up and it was like one of those slam dunk things where they just missed the rim.
Because I felt it up in section 315. I'm wondering if you felt that whiff in Florida too.
Oh, we felt it. They freaking felt it. We had better weather though. I will say, here's one positive note, Justin. We now have a 5-way tie for the leader of interceptions on the New York Giants.
Ooh.
Trey Hawkins, Darius Mossau, Cordell Flott, Drew Phillips, and Dane Belton are all the leaders. Dane Belton got his 5th interception in his 3rd season.
That was a sick interception, by the way.
Yeah, so it was I don't know what happened on that play. So they blitzed Deonte Banks, which they've been doing a little bit, like to stop the run. And you had Belton scream downhill. They had nobody covering deep on the entire right side of the field. Nobody covering deep. They got a little lucky, though, because they ran those verticals, and they had the tight ends run towards the right sideline, so it allowed Belton to get back into the play. A bit of a bad ball by Flacco. If they just had him running up the seam, Justin, I mean, it would have been the easiest touchdown of the day for anybody, and it's just kind of lucked into that. But I don't know what that play call was, but it was a good way to maybe Belton was in the wrong spot originally, but he did a damn good job fucking adjusting and making the play there.
Here's something interesting about Dane Belton. Bobby Okereke and Xavier McKinney played 100% of the snaps last year, and it was around 1,000 snaps, right?
Yeah.
So Dane Belton, Dane Belton in his career has played around 1,000 snaps now. Heading into today, it's 1,008. So now basically Dane Belton has played a full season's worth of snaps in his career. He has 5 interceptions.
He did have ball production at Iowa. That was like the one good thing about him.
Wow. I mean, even though that's spread out over 3 years, that's
he has good hands. I don't think he's very good, but he does have good hands. I will say that. At least he catches the ball when at least he has ball skills.
I just gave Joe Schoen a really good idea for a talking point. Dane Belton, 1,000 career snaps, 5 interceptions. 1,000 snaps equals 1 season. 5 interceptions, wonderful. Basically in 1 season.
All right. Just I don't want to belabor anything because we have another mailbag pod. We have the final pod of the season on Friday too. So we can head out. It'll be interesting next 7 days. I mean, we kept on talking about how there's 5 games left. Well, now we're let's better not Saturday. But we'll see how things go for this team, Justin. You got anything else before we roll?
No, I still can't believe they.
Are you gonna? I just want you dead.
A lot of people do. A lot of people do. They want.
I saw some of the
Jolly tweeted before the game too, and this is so true. If you believe in tradition, and if you believe in just things that happen, if you believe in things that happen, that's a sentence. Jolly Olive has never witnessed a Giants loss during their final home game. We talked about it heading into the pod, and he was at the game. Dalton Philly, myself, and John Cox, one of our former John Boy Media employees. We all hung out, and his wife Lexi. We all hung out at the game. We had a great time.
I was wondering. I was like, is John Cox a Colts fan?
Yeah, he's a Colts fan. Yeah.
Oh, I was like, well, why is he? I was like, I understand he's. What made him pick this Giants game to go to?
Yeah, and then we went to Candlewick after the game. We had a great day.
This is really Seth DeFlo's fault.
Okay, it's not Jolly's fault because people were also blaming Jolly that he's a piece of shit. Yeah,
it's partly his fault, but it's mostly Seth DeFlo's fault.
That's fair.
He knew that I could not let this team lose to him, and he had to do that stupid song. He knew, like you saw it in my score prediction. Like I cannot predict a loss to this guy. Like we're never going to lose the Colts again as long as that man lives. So hopefully we don't have to play them late in the year.
Yep. Thanks for jinxing it, Justin.
We'll play
for a win. Yeah.
We'll play them in 2 years. And Seth DeFlo, your ass is going down again. All right, we'll see you guys on Wednesday. Until then, let's go big. blue.